Hi, I'm Ellie. This is Therapy Thursday, a quiet space where we sit with hard feelings, learn from them, and explore how to move forward. Today's story is about the heartbreak of losing the man you thought you'd spend forever with, and the slow, steady process of finding yourself again. I never thought my first real heartbreak would feel like this. Not just like losing someone I loved, but like losing the compass that told me who I was. For almost 4 years, I believed I had found the man who would anchor my life. He wasn't just my boyfriend. He was my best friend, my favorite person, the one who made me feel chosen. For someone who'd often felt like an afterthought, being chosen first was everything. So when he ended things 5 months ago, it wasn't only the end of a relationship. It was as if the structure holding me up had collapsed. Suddenly, I wasn't just heartbroken, I was unmoored. At first, I did what many people do after a breakup. I tried to outrun the feelings. I went to the gym, laced up my running shoes, pushed my body harder than I ever had before. There was a strange comfort in feeling my heart race from exertion instead of from panic. The gym became a ritual, a place where, for an hour at least, I could stop replaying conversations in my head. But of course, movement alone couldn't carry the weight of my grief. That's when I turned to therapy. Therapy peeled back the layers I had carefully avoided. This breakup wasn't only painful because I lost him. It was painful because his love had hidden wounds that had been there all along. Wounds about belonging, about being enough, about learning how to love myself. Even in school, I had friends, but I was rarely anyone's first choice. I was included, but I didn't feel essential. I was liked, but not central. That feeling of being on the outside of closeness followed me for years. And then I met him. For once, I wasn't an afterthought. I was his favorite. He wanted to see me, to call me, to build a life with me. That validation filled me in a way I had never experienced. I loved him for who he was, but I also loved the reflection of myself I saw when I was with him. So when he decided to leave, my brain translated it into one devastating thought. See, you weren't enough after all. That thought was louder than any logical explanation. It was louder than the fact that relationships end for complicated reasons. It was louder than the truth that two people can love each other and still not work out long term. All I could hear was the echo of my oldest insecurity. But here's what therapy has helped me understand. Heartbreak magnifies the deepest fears we carry. And if we listen carefully, those fears point to the exact places we need to grow. Session by session, I began to see the patterns. He wasn't perfect, I wasn't perfect, and there were cracks in our foundation that had little to do with my worth as a person, but because I had tied my value so tightly to being his person. Losing him felt like losing myself. That realization was painful, but also liberating. It meant my worth had never actually depended on him. I just hadn't learned how to see it for myself yet. Still, the emptiness was the hardest part. Every day after the breakup, I felt the absence of being needed. He had been my priority, and I had been his. Without that role, I didn't know where to put my energy. Some mornings, I would sit on the edge of my bed, staring at the floor, fighting the urge to call him, even though I knew the line was closed for good. It felt like I had been erased from a life I thought was mine. So the question became, if I wasn't his girlfriend anymore, who was I? Here's what I'm learning in the rebuilding process. First, small anchors matter. The gym became mine. It might not seem profound, but lifting weights, finishing a run, or even just showing up gave me a sense of progress. Those moments reminded me that growth doesn't require anyone else's permission. Second, therapy is practice, not just insight. It's not enough to know why I feel insecure. I have to practice responding differently. When I catch myself waiting for a message just to feel worthy, I take a different action. I send a message first, or I journal something I'm proud of, or I complete a task I've been putting off. Each small action chips away at the old pattern. Third, connection is still possible. At first, every friendship felt pale compared to the intimacy of a partner, but I've been learning that closeness can be nurtured. It takes vulnerability to ask someone to hang out or to admit you're lonely. It takes patience to let friendships deepen. But it is possible, and the more I practice, the less desperate I feel for one person to fill the void. And here's another step I'm trying, naming what I actually need. Sometimes I miss him so much I think I need love, when what I really need is belonging. Sometimes I think I need romance, when what I really need is comfort. Naming the need helps me find healthier ways to meet it. Self-worth is the hardest part. And what I've realized is that self-worth isn't just about thinking nice thoughts. It's about doing things that build evidence of your value. I've started keeping a small notebook. Every day, I write down one thing I did that proves I showed up for myself. Some days, it's as small as I went for a walk. Other days, it's bigger, like I spoke up in therapy, or I reached out to a friend. These entries aren't dramatic, but over time, they become proof that I am enough with or without him. There are still setbacks, nights when I cry myself to sleep, afternoons when memories hit so hard they steal my breath, days when I scroll through old photos just to feel close to him. But I've learned to stop treating these moments as failure. Healing isn't about erasing the pain. It's about learning how to carry it without letting it define you. When the thought, "I'm not enough," comes back, and it does, I practice saying out loud, "I am hurting, but I still have value." Those words may not silence the thought, but they give me a lifeline. And here's the biggest truth I've learned. Being needed is not the same as being valuable. Yes, he once needed me, but my worth was never measured by his need. It exists in who I am, in my empathy, my curiosity, my growth, and my capacity to care. Those qualities remain mine, no matter who chooses to stay or go. So, will this pain eventually become something positive? I think so. Not because the heartbreak will magically disappear, but because I am building roots through it. I'm learning resilience. I'm learning patience. I'm learning that my life can be meaningful even when I'm not someone's number one. And maybe one day, when I love again, it will come from a place of strength instead of fear. If you're listening and you're in that hollow place right now, here are 3 things you can try. Do one thing today you can be proud of. It doesn't have to be big. Cook a meal, go for a short walk, send that email you've been putting off. Write it down and let yourself feel a small spark of pride. Tell someone what you need. Use simple words. Say, "I'm lonely. Could we talk?" Or I could use some company, give others a chance to show up, ground yourself when panic hits. Take 5 slow breaths. Feel your feet pressing into the floor. Name 3 things you can see right now. Bring yourself back to the present. This breakup took away the man I thought I'd spend my life with. But it's also giving me the chance to build a version of myself who doesn't need anyone else to define her worth. And maybe that's the strength I was meant to find all along. If this story resonated with you, share one small step you're taking to care for yourself this week in the comments. And if you'd like more stories like this, subscribe and join me next Therapy Thursday. You're not alone in this work.